Welcome to the 2026 Ride Engineering Competition. Thrills on the go! This year's challenge. Teams will design, engineer, and manufacture amusement rides for candy riders, featuring elevation, rotation, and at least 2 Gs of acceleration. To keep the thrills portable, rides will arrive disassembled, small enough to fit in our transport. And you'll be amazed as teams assemble, disassemble, and reassemble their rides throughout the day. So, how's the competition work? Well, teams will follow professional industry practices as they conceptualize their ride, conduct a risk assessment, and show compliance to the ASTM F2291 safety standard, perform design reviews, and build calculation reports, drawing packages, and factory acceptance tests. The final rides will receive additional points for performance, theming, and site acceptance testing. Industry professional judges will provide detailed feedback and scores for documentation and final ride performance, and crown 2 winners. That's right, to allow for more teams than ever before, 2 independent competitions will be hosted simultaneously, with 16 teams representing the East and 16 teams representing the West, allowing for 32 total teams. So, how's the scoring work? Well, teams will gain points for documentation, for their rides, and for their outreach, but they may lose points for failing their site acceptance tests and for having a more expensive ride than their competitors. Want to join? Registration is open from September 27th to November 8th, with our final event on Saturday, April 11th, 2026. Teams need at least 3 members and a faculty advisor to compete, and you may add or replace members throughout the season. Now, registration consists of a team registration, as well as individual member registration and season fees of $30 per student. Separate event registration in March opens up for the members traveling to the event. Only 32 teams can compete, so submit your team registration as soon as possible to secure your team's spot. Visit rideengineeringcompetition.org for more details and to register your team, or to sign up for information about becoming a judge, a sponsor, or even a future competitor. The clock is ticking, so don't wait. We'll see you there.
That is right. Our 2026 competition prompt is Thrills on the Go, Portable Ride Engineering Challenge. So this year you will be designing rides to be disassembled into a smaller envelope and then reassembling them throughout the day. So we have the same envelope as previous years, 750 millimeters at the base, 900 millimeters tall. And then we have our smaller portable envelope, which is 250 by 700 by 250 millimeters. So the same requirements for the rider experience exists: 300 millimeters of elevation, 45 degrees of rotation in any direction at any point, and 2 Gs of acceleration. And then also the ride will need to be fit within this smaller envelope that we will verify with an actual gauge that we will fit over the ride to verify that it fits within that envelope. That will be both at the beginning of the day, we will verify that it fits within that envelope. You will build your ride, and then in the middle of the day, you will be instructed to disassemble your ride, fit it back within that envelope, and then build it again. Here are more details about the envelope, and all of this will be covered in the 2026 prompt that you receive upon registration. This year, we have new riders. This year, we are using Jolly Rancher Chews candies. They're a slightly different shape than what we've experienced before, and our rider orientation, what is forwards and what is left and right, up and down for the rider, is changed from previous years. The candies themselves are pretty tasty, and they can be available online and in stores throughout the country, and we'll give you some more options for acquiring those riders. So a new challenge for your rider containment this year. Our event this year, we are delighted to announce, will be at Hershey Lodge in Hershey, Pennsylvania on April 11th, 2026. We have been working very well with Hershey Lodge and are setting up a really exciting event for that. So more details about that will come soon. But we are delighted to be working with Hershey for this year's competition. And this will be for all teams, both East and West divisions will be in the same room. So let's take a look at an overview of this year's rulebook. Our season this year, starting now with registration open until November 8th. Your project charter will be due 4 weeks after your registration. This project charter will be the final project charter that is 4 points, or that earns points. It's more than 4. You'll have your preliminary design reviews in January, a final design review in late February, along with your theory of operations documents and ASTM documents will be due. And then we'll have our final hand-in and bag and tag 2 weeks before the final event, with posters and video theories of operations due in between 1 week before the final event. So let's take a look at this year's systems engineering report. The first section, your project charter. You'll define your team members, the problem definition, your stakeholders, the scope of work, some background research, your design criteria, and what resources you have. Identifying your team. Yeah, okay. People can see my screen. Identifying your team, your resources, what you have to work with as you go through the rest of the competition. So this is the absolute first thing that you should do, and as such, it is due 4 weeks after your registration to guarantee that you do it first and you set yourselves up for success. Next, you will build your theory of operation, the introduction to your ride. You will outline the rider experience, and you will outline the systems and functions within your ride. This is the one document that every single judge will view. So it is our recommendation that you make this a clear document that outlines these aspects of your ride so that anyone can read it and quickly understand what is this ride, what is the basic functionality that it does, and how can I apply this to the specific sections that I will be judging as a judge. Next, we have our ASTM F2291 compliance analysis. So we will have you show your compliance to ASTM F2291 25B, the latest iteration as of now of that standard. As you comply with that standards, we have our REC adaptation document that provides some omissions of certain requirements that are not reasonable for the scope of the competition, or has some replacements to adapt from the standard written for humans and human scales to our Candy Rider scale. It's our expectation as you go through this that you look at every single requirement, look at how it passes through that adaptation document, and then include that information in your compliance analysis of whether or not you need to be, whether or not that requirement applies to your ride, and whether or not you do comply, and the verification that you have of that compliance. And we expect you to do this for every requirement in that standard. For risk assessment, every year we have this risk assessment process. This is something that is not taught very thoroughly in universities, but it's something that is the core of almost everything that professional ride engineers do. So it's very important to us that it's included here and that it's well understood. So throughout this process, you will identify hazards that exist in your ride. For example, a hot piece of metal. You'll identify hazardous situations where the persons, either riders or operators yourselves, can come in contact with the hazard. You will identify hazardous events where the hazard causes harm to that person in that hazardous situation. You will perform a risk evaluation. You will look at different qualities and compare those together to uh, generate a value for how high that risk is for that situation. You will identify which risks are acceptable and which are unacceptable. And for the unacceptable risks, you will develop mitigations for them. And then with those new mitigations, you will look for new sources of risk that has introduced and follow the cycle around until all of the risks have been appropriately mitigated. For mechanical and structural design and control system design sections, you will go into the engineering detail and talk about the design description and rationale for the specific systems that you are using and the functions that they have. You will do calculations to verify that they meet the requirements that you need, both externally from the standards and internally from your risk assessment, from your engineering process itself. And then you'll also create drawings and schematics to detail all of those functions and give us all the information that we would need to be able to manufacture your ride. In our next section, we have acceptance testing, and I will hand it over to Esteban to talk more about that.
All right. Hey everyone, I'm Esteban. And yeah, I'll be going over the general acceptance testing for this year's competition. So this general overview, similar to last year, we're going to have two styles of acceptance testing, being factory acceptance tests and site acceptance tests. And similar to last year, we're going to be doing a system where you're designing these tests that will be done throughout your engineering design process. So everything you do on campus for validating your design is going to be factory acceptance tests. And then when you get to the site, your site acceptance testing plan. Overall, it's going to be, in general, every single system, every single component of your engineering design process is going to be kind of outlined throughout this testing plan. So overall, yeah, bulk of your engineering design process, and just as a bit of an explanation between the two, because there was some confusion on that last year. Overall, factory acceptance tests, they're going to be a lot of the testing in industry. They're the testing and validation that's done by the manufacturer. In this case, it's you guys, the students. At the facility, and for you guys, it's on campus, and it ensures the proper function of the ride. It's every single test your team has identified, written, and completed during your design cycle, and we're going to be judging this more heavily on everything you documented throughout this whole process, so everything you learned based on the positive and negative testing outcomes and how you wrote those tests. Your site acceptance tests themselves are going to be the on-site demonstration to the client, which is going to be us, the judges, that the ride and the safety critical systems are functional. And this on-site commissioning is going to be everything that all your other tests are leading up to. And it's a maximum of 3 tests that are completed in a 10-minute window with the panel of judges. Overall, what the points are going to be for this, you have penalties if they're not properly organized. We had some issues with some organization last year just on kind of going through the actual how these are presented. But overall, you're going to be earning your points through your factory acceptance tests, which will be the 0 to 200 points. And that's all going to be graded on how well you're documenting your whole design and testing process. And then on site through the SAT, you're going to be defending those points. So whatever previous points you earned, if you earned 150 points in your FAT, based on how well you were able to complete those tests and adhere to your procedures on site, that's going to determine whether or not you get 0 to 100% of those points credited towards your total for the year. And yeah, I'll hand it back to Charlie for the physical ride.
All right, so on our event on April 11th, you will be able to arrive with your functional ride, your physical ride. We will give you scores for the uptime throughout the day. So in our 6-hour window, we have timers that will see how long you are operational during that time. We will score for theming and marketability. So we will have professional judges there with that experience in the industry who will score you on those goals as you present that information to them. And then we'll also have you prepare a service plan and then enact that service plan throughout the day. So how well you conduct those plans will see benefits in your scoring as well. And then finally, as part of our outreach section, we will have a theory of operations video It's a place to communicate your theory of operations in a very concise way, but we want you to find creative ways to do it and have some fun with it. We have our poster, which is an all or nothing points if you give us any poster that we will print out and bring to the event so that you have a very nice poster of your ride. Have fun with those. That's something, for you all so that you have that for your clubs or any kind of marketing you want to do. And then, of course, our outreach report. We want you to not only focus internally on this competition, but we want you to look externally, look at your community, find ways that you can create an impact, and educate the people around us and inspire them with the crazy engineering that we get to do on rides. Looking at our safety, for the event, we have more specific rules about what is allowed and not allowed at the event. So all of this is detailed in the rulebook itself. This year, we will have safety captains identified on every team. So we'll have both primary contact and a safety captain. That safety captain, we ask that you be our representative in the room in all of your meetings and all of your sessions to ensure that people are working safely and upholding the high standards of safety that we aspire to in this industry. For judging in general, we have industry professionals who volunteer their time each year to be our judges. We will score the documents online with many judges, and then on the day we will have some judges in person scoring our in-person activities. In general, the judges are only assigned to the specific section that they are judging, that their experience is in. So it's important for you to know that every section that you design, every document that you hand in, should have all of the information needed to show that it is meeting the standard that is described in the rubric, that you have truly earned the points that are there. You will have lived with these rides for 6 months. The judges will be seeing it for the very first time. So use your communication skills, use your documentation skills, your technical communication skills to make sure that you're being concise, that you're clear, and that each section can stand on its own. We will be directing all the judges to the theory of operation. So use that as your opportunity to really introduce your ride, tell us what it is, tell us how it is built, what systems make it up, so that they can get a quick understanding of what is this thing and how does it relate to my specific section that I'm judging. Registration information. So registration will open today at 4 o'clock, so in about an hour and a half. It will be updated on the website and you will have full access to our registration. We have room for 32 teams this year, but it is first come, first serve. We've put out some interest forms and gotten more than 32 teams interested, so we expect that it will fill up this year. So to guarantee your spot, fill out your team registration. The sooner you do that, that will put you in the lineup to guarantee your spot. We have a season registration fee. As usual, this year it is $30 per member. That covers all of our programs throughout the season, all of our technology that it takes us to run this, and then helps cover the final event and guarantee that that can happen. Once you register your team, you'll receive access to all of the rules documents, and you'll start the 4-week timer for your project charter document. We will give you a link to our RAC 2026 Discord, which will be a place for all of our teams to have members communicating with each other, communicating with us, asking us questions. We'll respond to those questions there so that everyone has a record of what questions have been answered, and us sharing updates with the teams as well. We will try to do that in there in that Discord. So please join that. And then next semester, we'll have more information about the venue and traveling, and then we'll have a separate registration for the specific people who are going to the event. Out of the entire membership of your team, the ones who are going to the event will have an event fee that covers the specific food and entertainment at the event. And we'll have a separate registration for that. So the takeaway from this, 4 o'clock today, go to the website, register your team overall, and then individual registration will come soon here, and payment will come soon. But the first thing, gotta register your team and secure your spot within our with our teams, competing teams for this year. With that, we will open it up to Q&A with everyone here. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the 2026 Ride Engineering Competition.